The man collapsed to his knees the moment he saw the surgeon's face. He wasn't afraid of the surgery. He was afraid of her. Because the woman standing in that white coat, the woman holding his life in her hands, was the same pregnant ex-wife he had humiliated in the hospital parking lot just hours earlier. He thought she was nobody. He thought she was weak. He thought she would never rise again. But what he didn't know is that destiny had placed him under the knife of the one woman he had broken, and she was the only person who could save his failing heart. And now, as he begged for mercy, she stepped closer and whispered words he would never forget. Before we continue, tell us what time it is where you're watching from, and what country you're in. Don't forget to subscribe and dive in fully, because you're going to love every second of the story that follows. The morning sun had barely risen over Crestwood General Hospital when screeching tires tore across the parking lot. A black sedan slid into a space crookedly, the door flying open before the engine had even settled. Elias Rowan stumbled out, clutching his chest, breathing hard. His fiancée Marina Vale hurried after him in her tight dress and towering heels. "Elias, slow down," she hissed, tugging on his sleeve. "You're not supposed to stress your heart. Remember the appointment." "I'm fine," he snapped, waving her off. "I just need fresh air and coffee, and for this entire hospital to start respecting my time." He stopped mid-sentence when he spotted a woman walking across the lot, a woman familiar enough to freeze all the irritation in his throat. Aurora Hale, his ex-wife. She didn't look at them. She didn't flinch. She just placed a hand on her belly, steady and calm, as she locked her car and started toward the entrance. Elias frowned, disbelief twisting his features. "Is that? No, it can't be." Marina squinted. "You know her?" "Oh, I know her." Elias barked out a cruel laugh and strode toward Aurora. "Aurora! Aurora Hale!" Aurora halted, but didn't turn right away. Her breath hovered in her chest, but her expression remained controlled as she faced him. Elias took one look at her stomach and burst into mocking laughter. "Well, well, well, I didn't know a woman like you could ever carry a child." Marina raised a brow, amused. "Is that your ex-wife? She looks plain." Aurora inhaled slowly, her fingers pressing protectively against her belly. "Please step aside," she said quietly, but Elias stepped closer, lifting his chin. "Still pretending you matter? Still pretending anyone would want you?" He circled her like he was inspecting a stain on his shirt. "You couldn't even stay in medical school. You couldn't keep a home. You couldn't give me a family. And now, pregnant. Really? Who'd you convince to fall for that act?" Aurora walked away, refusing to take the bait. And that only fueled him. "Oh, come on," he taunted. "Don't walk away, Aurora. Don't you want to tell us who the father is? A janitor? A night guard? Someone as desperate as you?" Marina snorted. "She does look like the type to trap someone with a baby." Aurora's heel caught the edge of the curb. She stumbled, hard. Her palm slammed into the pavement. Sharp pain shot up her wrist. Her belly tightened in immediate protest. Before she could push up, Elias placed his polished shoe directly onto her injured hand. Aurora bit down a cry as pain streaked through her fingers. "Still so clumsy," he said. "I guess nothing changes." "Elias," Marina whispered, suddenly uneasy. Aurora's voice trembled, but she kept it steady. "Please, stop." Elias leaned harder. Her breath hitched. Inside her belly, her baby shifted sharply, reacting to her distress. Fear gathered in her throat, but she held her ground, not because she wasn't hurting, but because she refused to let Elias see her break again. Slowly she reached for her phone with her free hand. "Who are you calling?" Elias scoffed. "Your imaginary lawyer?" Aurora pressed the phone to her ear. "Sebastian, I need you." Elias blinked. "Sebastian? Who the hell is—" The answer arrived in less than 2 minutes. Engines roared as a convoy of black SUVs swept into the parking lot. Doors opened in perfect synchronization. Security guards stepped out first, imposing, stone-faced, instantly scanning for threats. Elias stumbled backward, shock punching the air from his lungs. Marina gasped. "Elias! That's the Cade security detail. The Cade family. Your heart donor sponsor." A final car door opened. Sebastian Cade himself stepped out, wearing a crisp suit that didn't need to declare power, because it radiated from him naturally. His expression hardened the moment he saw Aurora on the ground. He strode across the asphalt, knelt beside her, and lifted her gently but decisively. "Aurora," he murmured, brushing dirt from her cheek. "What happened? Who hurt you?" His voice was low, dangerously calm, the type of calm that preceded destruction. Aurora shook her head. "I'm okay. I just tripped." Sebastian's gaze shifted to Elias. It sharpened like a drawn blade. Elias felt his legs weaken. Marina clutched his arm. Let's go inside." But Sebastian stood slowly, hands in his pockets, posture relaxed but lethal. "You put your foot on her hand," he said quietly. "I saw the bruise forming." Elias shook his head. I didn't know she was—" "You didn't need to know." Sebastian stepped closer. "You only needed to be decent." Elias swallowed. Hard. Aurora placed a hand on Sebastian's arm. "Let's go inside. Please." He exhaled, the tension in his jaw easing slightly as he guided her toward the hospital entrance. But before he followed her through the doors, he looked back at Elias. "Whatever comes next," he said, voice like frost. "You brought it on yourself." Inside, nurses rushed Aurora into an exam room. Sebastian stayed with her, holding her uninjured hand while doctors checked her pulse, her belly, her vitals. Everything was stable, but the tension in Sebastian's shoulders didn't ease until he heard the words, "The baby is safe." Only then did he release a breath. Aurora squeezed his hand. "I'm sorry for worrying you." He shook his head. "You didn't." They did. Meanwhile, Elias approached the reception desk, trying to pretend his hands weren't trembling. "Good morning," he said stiffly. "I'm Elias Rowan. I have an appointment with the senior surgeon. My heart procedure is tomorrow." The receptionist typed his name quickly, then nodded. "Yes, Mr. Rowan. The senior surgeon will see you shortly. Please take a seat." Elias managed a tight nod and sat, pressing a hand over his chest. Marina sat beside him, unusually quiet. "You shouldn't have talked to her like that," she whispered. Elias glared. "You joined in." "She didn't look like someone you'd step on," Marina muttered. "She looked like someone who could ruin lives." Elias scoffed, but unease twisted in his gut. Minutes later, a nurse appeared in the doorway. "Mr. Rowan, the senior surgeon is ready for you." Elias stood, straightening his shirt, forcing a confident smile. "Finally. Let's get this over with." He and Marina followed the nurse down a quiet hallway until they reached a glass door. The nurse pushed it open. Elias stepped inside, and his world stopped, standing before him in a spotless white coat, hair tied back, eyes calm and steady. Aurora Hale, his ex-wife. The woman he'd mocked minutes earlier. The woman he'd tried to crush years ago. The woman carrying another man's child. And the woman who would hold his heart, literally, in her hands tomorrow. Elias's knees buckled. He hit the floor with a thud. "Aurora," he whispered. You're the surgeon?" Aurora didn't blink. "I am." Marina covered her mouth, horrified. "Oh my God." Elias shook uncontrollably. "Aurora, please. I didn't know. I didn't know it was you. Please, forgive." Aurora stepped closer, her expression unreadable. "You insulted me," she said softly. "You stepped on my hand. You made my pregnancy a joke, and now you want mercy?" Elias sobbed. "Please, please, Aurora. I don't want to die." Aurora held his gaze, unmoving. "You won't," she said, "because I have a duty, and because my strength doesn't come from hurting people. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Every story we will share is a spark of hope, giving a voice, a future, and a chance to anyone out there who have faced challenges or looked down on one way or the other, over the world. So, support us by subscribing and turning on the notification bell so you never miss a story that truly matters. And we will want to hear from you. So, drop a comment and tell us where you are watching from and how the story touched you. Together, we are not just watching stories unfold, we are keeping hope of a better tomorrow. Aurora's voice remained calm, but Elias could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears, wild and terrified. She waited until he lifted his trembling head before speaking again. "You will arrive tomorrow at 9 a.m., she said, her tone professional and cold. "You will follow every instruction my team gives, and you will not make a scene." Elias nodded rapidly, tears spilling down his cheeks. Marina didn't dare say a word. Aurora turned away without looking back. It was the smallest gesture. But to Elias, it felt like a door slamming shut on every cruel thing he'd said, every moment he'd taken her for granted, every wound he'd left behind. And for the first time since he'd stepped out of his car that morning, he felt regret. Real regret. After they left her office, Aurora stood alone for a moment, steadying herself. Her pulse was finally slowing, but her hand still throbbed from the pressure of Elias's shoe. She placed her palm gently over her stomach. "We're okay," she whispered. "He can't hurt us anymore." Her baby rolled softly in response, as if reassured. When she stepped into the hallway, Sebastian was waiting. The instant he saw her, tension eased from his face. "How did it go?" he asked. Aurora exhaled. "He found out." "Good." Sebastian brushed a thumb over her cheek. "He deserves to face the woman he tried to destroy, and he deserves to see how far you climbed without him." Aurora smiled faintly. "Let's just get through tomorrow." Sebastian nodded, though his eyes were still darkened with unspoken anger. "I'll be here the entire time." Elias, meanwhile, walked down the same hallway in a daze, Marina half supporting him. He paused beside a water fountain, gripping it with both hands as he gasped for air. "I'm dead," he whispered. "I insulted the woman who's operating on my heart. I stepped on her. My God, what have I done?" Marina swallowed hard. "Just apologize. She seems reasonable." Elias shook his head violently. "I don't deserve forgiveness, and she doesn't owe it to me." For the rest of the evening, he couldn't shake Aurora's calm voice. He couldn't shake the way she had looked down at him, not with hatred, not with revenge, but with a kind of strength he had never known she possessed. Strength he had taken from her. Strength she had rebuilt without him. That night, Aurora lay in bed, unable to sleep. She stared at the ceiling, remembering how she used to beg Elias to let her finish medical school, how she would cook for him when he came home late, how he would brush past her without a glance, muttering insults about her worth, her body, her inability to carry a child. And yet tomorrow, she would hold his life in her hands. The irony was sharp, but not painful anymore. Sebastian shifted beside her. You're thinking too much. Aurora turned into him. I'm thinking about how odd this world is. How someone who almost broke me is now depending on me to save him. Sebastian kissed her forehead. That's why you're extraordinary. The next morning, the hospital buzzed with controlled energy. Nurses prepped equipment, surgeons moved briskly through the halls, and the OR lights glowed with sterile intensity. Elias sat in a wheelchair outside the operating room, hands trembling uncontrollably. Marina stood behind him, whispering prayers under her breath. When Aurora appeared, surgical cap, mask, gown, posture flawless, the hallway fell silent. People moved aside for her without question. Elias's breath hitched. Aurora, he whispered, thank you for not refusing. Thank you for being better than I ever was. Aurora gave a short nod. Let's get you inside. They wheeled him into the OR. The beeping of machines echoed around him, and the bright lights above made everything feel surreal. Aurora stepped to his side. This will take a few hours, she said. My team and I will do everything necessary. Elias's eyes filled again. Why? Why would you help me after everything? Aurora paused. Because healing is more powerful than hurting, she said simply. And because who I am today is not shaped by who you were to me. Those were the last words he heard before anesthesia pulled him under. The surgery began. Aurora moved through the operation with steady precision, voice calm as she directed her team. Every incision, every adjustment, every measured breath carried the weight of a history that only she remembered in pieces. Yet none of that touched her hands. Inside that OR, she wasn't a scorned ex-wife. She was a surgeon. She was a woman who rebuilt herself from ashes. She was someone who had chosen grace over vengeance. Hours passed. At one point, Elias's heartbeat wavered. A nurse stiffened, but Aurora remained unshaken. Stabilize, she murmured. Her fingers moved expertly. The monitors steadied. The room exhaled. By the end of the procedure, the team was exhausted, but Aurora's posture never faltered. She removed her gloves, stepped back, and said softly, "He'll live." When Elias opened his eyes in recovery, everything felt muffled, the lights dimmer, the air heavier, his chest wrapped in new weight. And then he saw her. Aurora stood at the foot of his bed, arms folded gently, her expression unreadable. "You saved me," Elias whispered. "Aurora, I owe you my life." Aurora nodded once. "You owe yourself a change." Elias swallowed hard. "I hurt you. I humiliated you. I destroyed everything you were. And you still... I didn't do it for you," she said, cutting him off softly. "I did it because life matters. Because if I let your cruelty turn me into you, then I'd lose everything I fought to become." Tears streamed down Elias's face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I know it doesn't erase anything, but I am so sorry." Aurora held his gaze for a long moment. "I forgive you," she said. "But forgiveness is not a bridge back into someone's life. It's a release. For both of us." She turned to walk away. "Aurora," Elias called, voice cracking. "Please be happy. Truly." She paused at the doorway. "I already am." When she stepped into the hallway, Sebastian was waiting. He gathered her into his arms before she could say a word. "You did it," he murmured into her hair. "You really did it." Aurora let out a breath she'd been holding for years. "It's over," she said. "Finally." Sebastian kissed her forehead. "Not quite. There's still accountability." True to his word, Sebastian made several quiet calls that afternoon. Elias's board membership was suspended pending investigation. Marina was removed from her managerial position after reports of harassment reached HR. It wasn't revenge. It was responsibility catching up. 2 days later, Aurora walked through the same parking lot where Elias had mocked her. This time, sunlight danced across the asphalt, and she felt nothing but peace. A nurse passing by smiled. "Dr. Hale, the staff loves your new patient care protocol." Aurora smiled back. "Thank you." She placed a hand on her belly, feeling a gentle kick. "Everything's finally in place," she whispered. As she reached her car, her phone buzzed, a notification from her storytelling channel. "Your viewers loved your last story. Want more like this? Don't forget to subscribe and like for the next powerful episode." Aurora chuckled softly. "Not a bad idea," she said. And as she drove away from the past, she didn't look back once. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories just like this. Your support helps bring more emotional and inspiring stories to life. Thank you for watching until the end. Until the next story, stay strong, stay hopeful, stay inspired.